but trying to, swish some water, maybe spit it out, maybe swallow it. That's up to you. Are you a spit or swallow? Not my business. Don't want to know. Don't tell me. Don't put it in the comments. Just decide for you. However, before we get into the to-dos, I think it's very important to discuss the do-nots that every dentist and periodontist I spoke to agreed on. The quick list, as I'll call it, of bad for your teeth, bad for your mouth, and therefore bad for your brain and body. Alcohol. But here, when we say alcohol is not good for oral health and for tooth health, what we're talking about is the disruption that alcohol creates to the microbiome and the way that it alters the pH of your saliva and places the mouth and the teeth into a demineralization state. The second thing on the no-fly list, or the not good for us list for sake of oral health, are stimulants. Now, of course, things like methamphetamine, which are severely deleterious, addictive drugs for all sorts of reasons. They kill dopaminergic and other brain neurons. They are highly addictive, and on and on. But also stimulants like Adderall, Vyvanse, et cetera. Those stimulants, basically any drug that increases epinephrine and norepinephrine, are going to have a negative effect on oral health. Does that mean you should stop those medications if you've been prescribed them? No, it means that you should do some other things to try and offset the negative consequence of stimulants. Why would stimulants cause such disruption in oral health? Well, there are really two reasons. There's a chemical reason and there's a mechanical reason. The chemical reason is that stimulants change the pH of your saliva, making the mouth more acidic, which makes strep mutans and other bacteria more capable of creating cavities down into the teeth. They take your mouth and your teeth from that remineralization state, or as I've been referring to it, mode, to that demineralization, demin mode. So there's a chemical reason why stimulants disrupt the oral health milieu and cause disruption in tooth health and degradation, demin, of the enamel of the teeth and deeper layers of the teeth. And this is profoundly evident in meth addicts. But the other reason, and this was a reason that was shared with me by a physician, an MD from University of California, San Francisco, who interacts by virtue of his profession with a lot of methamphetamine addicts who have terrible teeth, is that stimulants encourage mouth breathing. Watch a meth addict or watch somebody who's on a high dose of stimulants and they tend to mouth breathe because of the shifts in autonomic nervous system function. They tend to be mouth breathers. So it's the drying of the mouth that also shifts the mouth from that remineralization mode to demineralization mode. So if you do take stimulants by prescription, I would hope not methamphetamine or illicit drugs, but if you take prescription stimulants, and by the way, things like Wellbutrin, modafinil, they do qualify as stimulants, even though modafinil is a little bit of a special case. Any drug that increases norepinephrine, epinephrine, any stimulant, and yes, indeed, coffee, we'll talk about coffee as well, and tea, will make the saliva more acidic and make your oral health potentially less good. Mouth breathing, bad for oral health, bad for teeth. Smoking, cigarettes, and yes, also cannabis. And yes, vaping does this too. So then people ask, well, what about vaping? Vaping's not as bad as smoking, right? That's what they say. Or they're sort of asking, saying, hoping, wishing, fantasizing. And the truth is that vaping is terrible for your oral health as well. Is it as bad as smoking? Probably not, but it's bad for a bunch of other reasons that offset any gain or gains you would get from vaping instead of smoking. So just know that if you're a smoker or a vapor, you're going to want to pay extra attention to some of the other protocols discussed and that we will discuss going forward. Okay, so we've got alcohol, stimulants, smoking/vaping, and by extension, dipping tobacco, frankly, not good for oral health or tooth health. In fact, they can be procancerous to the gum tissue. It's well established. And they can also cause degradation of the gum tissue and even some of the underlying bone if you tend to do it on the same side all the time or often at all. So that's not good. We already discussed that sugar is not good for oral health. Does that mean you can never ingest sugar? No, of course not. Enjoy the sweets you enjoy every once in a while. Enjoy a nice pastry. Do as you will. If you're somebody who never eats those things, great. But then understand that any carbohydrate, any starch, provides a sugar that strep mutans can eat and create acid and demineralize your teeth, create cavities, that is. So avoid sugar in excess. And if you eat sugar, try and rinse your mouth after. And ideally, you would brush, maybe even floss after. Okay, I do know those people that after every meal, they run in, even in the middle of the day, they run to the bathroom and brush their teeth and floss. And that's great, but most people don't do that. So swishing water, rinsing your mouth out, again, plain water, maybe with a little bit of salt in it, is going to be beneficial. We'll talk about mouthwashes later, just to give you a little window into where we're headed with that. Most mouthwashes, terrible for your oral health, especially alcohol-based or antiseptic-based mouthwashes, except under certain conditions, prescribed or otherwise. Okay, so if you eat any sugar, and frankly, after you eat anything, it's a good idea to try and clear as much of that food product from your mouth. You may not think you still have food in your mouth and teeth, but try to swish some water, maybe spit it out, maybe swallow it. That's up to you. Are you a spit or swallow? Not my business. Don't want to know. Don't tell me. Don't put it in the comments. Just decide for you. But sugar and other food products residing in the mouth for long periods of time, not good. And similarly, acidity. Foods that are acidic. So certain things like citrus fruits, which I love. I love oranges. I have an orange tree in my backyard now and I absolutely love it. I love oranges, grapefruit. I love the peel. I even eat the peel sometimes. It's so delicious. And no one's telling you not to eat acidic foods or to avoid acidic drinks like lemon water or carbonated lemon water. Some people are really extreme and they decide to just use a straw when they drink those things. In fact, the dentist I spoke to said, yes, could you ask people please, if they're going to drink acidic drinks, to try and use a straw? But then I said, well, a lot of straws, they disrupt the environment. Most people aren't carrying around metal straws or, and what about the turtles, this kind of thing. And they said, well, okay, here's the real truth. The real truth is it's the amount of time that the mouth is exposed to that acid. So if they're going to drink it over the course of 5, 10, 15, maybe 20, 30 minutes, and then be done with it. Rinse out the mouth with a little bit of water and try and clear out that acidity. It's not about completely avoiding acid foods or sugary foods or acidic drinks. It's about, again, limiting the amount of time that the overall milieu of the mouth is acidic. Okay, so really avoid alcohol, stimulants, smoking, vaping, sugar, mouth breathing, acidic foods, acidic drinks, but most of us can't avoid any sugars, any acidic foods. The other things can be avoided, but some of us are prescribed these drugs and need these drugs. Some people like a drink with alcohol in it every once in a while, and it's perfectly fine for them, or they've deemed it perfectly fine for them. In that case, try and rinse the mouth, try and keep the milieu of the mouth as moist and as basic, or alkaline rather, less acidic as possible.